Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Mother's Basement, and today we're checking out 2023's best, worst, and most cursed anime! Let's check it out.
2023 has been a year of extremes, for better and for worse.
I think this year's been great for anime, but obviously there's been plenty of trash as well.
But in anime's case at least, it feels like better has mostly worn out. Fight scene enthusiasts have been eaten non-stop, non-isekai fantasies come roaring back with vengeance, and a lot of folks who missed out on Zombieland Saga were finally tricked into liking idle anime. Still, mostly is the operative word there. This year's crop of bad anime contains some of the most atrocious shit I've ever had to sit
Oh god!
As for the trash, well, let's just say Chez Garbage diners have been eaten just as well as the shonen.
Shangri-La Frontier has been amazing.
So today, we're gonna celebrate it all. The best of the year and the worst, and the
let's
anime
do
that one way
it!
or another came out well and truly cursed. I've split these into 3 clear sections, so those of you who are here just for the recommendations or the roasting can find whatever you're looking for, but I do hope you'll make time for the whole thing. And in the interest of making that time as short as possible for you, I'm just gonna jump right into things. I'm just as excited to tell you about the 11 best anime I watched in 2023.
11 best of 2023. Okay, let's do this.
Why 11? It's one louder. Also,
Oof, love that.
General lack of self-control. Sorry, couldn't narrow it down.
Had to throw that other one in there!
Honestly, any one of these could have been anime of the year any other year. So
damn.
The list isn't even in any particular order, except the last entry, which is my anime of the year.
Right.
I was able to make that one decision, and it almost killed me.
Wow.
Also, this probably would have been a top 12 if I was caught up on Vinland Saga, which I'm not because...
Mate, it's so... Oh, defo up there.
I have been kind of saving it for a rainy day.
Oh no, season 2 of Vinland Saga is incredible! Oh, Jeff, will you do it?
Sorry,
Jeff, no!
Not on here.
Oh.
Please don't get too caught up on judging my taste.
No, Jeff, no!
Glaring omissions.
It's so good.
You should be judging me for what I did put on the list.
Okay.
You know, now that I say that, it might have been a mistake to start this with pure unadulterated harem trash like The 100 Girlfriends.
No, okay.
Really,
I mean,
really love you.
I've not watched it, but I've heard nothing but good things, so okay, it's fine, I guess.
Going back now. In case that audaciously bold title didn't clue you in, 100 Girlfriends is an entire anime made out of just the parts of anime.
Go follow my Patreon, links in the description.
Parents always seem to want
$1 a month, get your name at the end of every video.
It f***ing rules. Via a strange quirk of destiny, and by destiny,
Does seem quite good,
God
though.
of Love got distracted while filling out his paperwork, Rentaro Aijo has been assigned 100 soulmates instead of the usual one. And because the universe punishes anyone who can't make it work with their soulmate with bad luck until the day they die, which will probably be really soon.
Oh god, what a life!
Luck, he is bound to find and cherish every last one of them until the end of their days.
God.
Ending the story with anything less than a harem of 100 happy hotties will mean that Rentaro has fundamentally failed as a man.
No.
Truly, no anime hero's quest has ever been more just or righteous.
Aye.
誓うよ絶対に2人とも幸せにする
Oh. Oh. Hey,
you have ever been
let's
this
go,
long
lad.
either. At its current rate of girlfriends per chapter, the series is presently on pace to hit a similar page count to shonen manga epics like Bleach and Naruto, which it honestly kind of needs to do the premise it's promised properly.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's 100, and they all have, like, from what I've seen, he's talked about it before, hasn't he? He's like, they all have personalities, they all have things. It's not like just generic, like, oh yeah, they all have stories and everything. Like, to get through 100, whoa.
It would be one thing to just throw 100 random, cute, and marketable character designs into a couple hundred chapters of rent-a-girlfriend grade pandering and
Blech.
call it a day,
Blech.
but
Don't do
100
it.
Girlfriends aims to give each and every one of those girlfriends both unique depth as individual characters and fun, interesting chemistry, not just with Rentaro,
Oof.
but also each other.
Nice.
Sometimes a lot of
Nice.
girls making out.
All right.
And it does it all without ever feeling like any one of them is being neglected by the plot or their man, because it doesn't matter how believably really lovable all these waifus are if it's not equally believable that they would
Love
all
him.
really love Rentaro back. Luckily,
It's in the
it
title.
is,
It's in the
because
title,
he's
yeah.
undeniably and unflappably the greatest boyfriend to
Aw.
ever exist, or not exist, as the case may
Yes,
be.
because it's
Use
fictional.
A
Yeah.
drawing. I'm
It's an anime,
sorry to
yes.
shatter the illusion. For.
I get it.
The
I
whole
get it.
thing is
There are people out there that might not know.
incredible flex of character design and writing skill, elevated by an adaptation every bit as inventive and hilariously anarchic as Bocchi the Rock's. Only
I still need to watch Bocchi the Rock. Oh my god.
coward would deny 100 Girlfriends as the anime of the year contender that it absolutely is.
Attack on Titan best be on this list.
Speaking of Bocchi, the
Frieren!
director who gave us her hilarious anime last year put out a new masterpiece. This one that hopefully I won't have to spend nearly as long justifying, especially since I already put out a whole video on the second channel explaining why I thought Frieren Beyond Journey's End could be the anime of the year.
Why have I not... I'm not subscribed to his second channel. Oh my god, what's going on?
Solely based on my
Change that after
experience
this.
with manga. I'm happy to report my experience with the anime has been just as great.
It's great.
If you're craving a
Gigok did a video beforehand as well, didn't he? Yeah.
proper non-portal fantasy story that'll truly transport you to another realm that has zero basis in RPG mechanics, it's been a long time, but we are eating good.
Oh,
this
yum.
season.
Yum,
Though
yum, yum.
It does play with RPG story tropes, to be fair.
Oh,
As the
yeah.
title suggests, this is a journey beyond
journey.
the end of your typical
Yes.
Dragon Quest narrative, following the 1,000-year-old elf mage of the Demon King defeating heroes party 100 years after the fact, as she embarks on a new 10-year quest to retrace their journey to the Demon King's castle and reconnect with memories of that paltry 1/100th of her lifespan that somehow changed everything about her along the way.
人間の寿命は短いって分かっていたのになんでもっと
Oh.
知ろうと思わなかったんだろう
She's followed and assisted in this quest by two younger adventurers, haughty genius mage apprentice Fern and Stark the cowardly dragon slayer.
Put it away!
Who slowly grow from innocent kids to awkward adolescents to capable and confident adults as the years and miles on the long road north go by. Frieren is an undeniably epic and immersive work of fantasy that sucks the viewer into its world of magic and wonder with lively animation and intoxicating music. But as far as it can take us from our own world, it still manages to hit incredibly close to home, with well-observed portrayals of day-to-day life in slices and in time-lapse, and a rich exploration of the human condition. A topic it highlights through contrast by focusing on characters like Frieren and other darker things with distinctly inhuman perspectives.
Yes.
It's a shining
Two sides.
example of how great fantasy can deepen our understanding of our own reality, and beyond that, just a breathtakingly beautiful work of pastoral art.
Wait, just look at that. That's phenomenal, man. Ugh.
And I'm placing it here so early in the list to make it clear I'm serious about that whole no particular order thing. Any one of these could have capped this list.
Right, okay,
off
yeah, valid
under
point.
slightly
Okay. Nice
different
one, Jeff. Cool, cool, cool.
circumstances. Under slightly different circumstances,
Oh, I never watched this, but this meant to be boss!
Heavenly Delusion probably would have topped a lot of
This looked
these.
really good.
Specifically, circumstances
Ah,
that
okay.
gave even literally a single tweet's worth of a shit about promoting it or any of their other anime, which they have a surprisingly great lineup of, actually, from indie gems like the sort of sequel to Tatami Galaxy to Shonen Jump blockbusters like Bleach and Undead Unluck. You just wouldn't know it looking at any of their marketing or social platforms or even your own homepage. Even if you're someone like me who mostly watches anime on Disney Plus, though they do at least give a well-deserved spotlight to the classic Oka no Osama.
King of the Hill.
Credit where it's Disney did one of last year's best anime, Summertime Rendering,
Mate, everyone was talking about that one. I still don't watch that one either. God, I suck. I suck. I suck. I'm sorry, guys. I suck.
Part of the year, but dumping it out in the middle of January with literally zero fanfare. Again, not even a single tweet. And while they did at least have the sense to simulcast Heavenly Delusion, thus allowing people who are, you know, watching it while it's airing to watch it while it's airing and talk about it while it's airing, they ended up doing it just as dirty by tossing out the English title that fans of the manga were already using to rebrand it as Tengoku Daimakyo, which, if it's not obvious what's wrong with that title, just ask yourself, would we still be talking about Shingeki no Kyojin?
Yeah, if it wasn't Attack on Titan.
If Crunchyroll had tried to sell us Shingeki no Kyojin in 2013 instead of Attack on Titan or the superior Yoten.
That's a very valid point. And this better be on your list, so fucking god.
Onslaught? I know that's an extreme example. Not every anime can pull that kind of mainstream clout, but I don't say this lightly. Heavenly Delusion really might have, if Disney put literally any marketing muscle behind it.
Crazy.
It's really that awesome.
Like, why even put it on there if you're not going to promote it? Like, what is the point? What's the point? Whoa. 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 Whoa.
Mix it.
Yo.
Self-evident top-tier animated action with heady transhumanist philosophical themes and a genuinely clever post-apocalyptic mystery that I'm loath to spoil, Tengoku Delusion is at once a somber thinking man's anime and a fucking awesome late-night cavalcade of cartoon
There's some action going on. Whoa.
Shit.
All right.
Condensed, self-contained, certified cool anime like Akira, Cowboy Bebop, Ghost in the Shell, or Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust that people who remember what a VHS is or constantly complaining don't get made anymore. Turns out they do get made anymore.
Ninja Scroll.
Disney's just been holding out on us. Though not quite as hard as they held out with Summertime Rendering, which is one of the best mystery anime of any kind I've ever seen in my life, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay.
You can see for yourself what makes it so darn good with the free month of Disney Plus you're gonna get to check out Heavenly Daima. Speaking of shows you should go into, Oshi no
Ko, that's
first
so
new
hard.
frontrunner for
I've not watched. I've watched Frieren. I watched Frieren, but I watched, like, that's the only one so far. I always do this. Whenever I check these lists, I'm like, I don't watch anything. Oh god! And I felt like I did really well this year.
By coming out swinging with a
I've probably watched every single thing that's in the trash.
roller coaster ride of a premiere, culminating in the mother of all rug pulls, which I will have to spoil at least vaguely to talk about the show like at all, so skip to the next section if you haven't seen it and missed all my very good videos about it.
Yeah!
Aka Akasaka constructed the story of Kaguya-sama Love is War with deceptive brilliance, hiding complex continuity and dynamic reactive character arcs within the typically static format of a gimmicky episodic gag manga. He combined Maison Ikoku caliber character comedy and romantic tension with Death Note caliber mind games and romantic tension to create a shonen-ish rom-com unlike any other, which was then perfected by the passionate team of animators who condensed and adapted it for the small screen.
Okay.
With Oshi no Ko, he's done it once again, giving us a brilliant, subtly supernatural slice of pop idol life dramedy wrapped around a Death Note adjacent edgy smart boy Machiavellian revenge thriller, wrapped around a good old fashioned murder mystery, wrapped around a fascinating post-mortem character study of the star of the different subtly supernatural slice of pop idol life dramedy that we thought we were gonna watch prior to the aforementioned rug pull.
There's a lot going on. My God.
Look, pal, I warned you this segment wouldn't make any sense if you
Okay, sorry.
hadn't seen the It's not my fault that last sentence was like that. Tell Akasaka-sensei to be less of a genius next time. The brilliance of his character writing is on especially strong display here, with each one of the half-dozen and counting principal cast members feeling convincingly like the protagonists of their own stories, all of which intersect in the seedy underbelly of Japan's brutal and exploitative entertainment industry as Aqua and Ruby navigate their way through it. A setting that, like all topics Akasaka touches, is impeccably researched and authentically portrayed, and
Nice.
you know, I already said all this in a big long video essay this summer, the length of which alone is a testament to how much I love this anime. And it's a testament to how absolutely insane this year was that it's not in the top spot. But to me, at least, it's even more of a
I've not watched the Scott Pilgrim anime either. Ah!
testament that I couldn't give that spot to my top Scott Pilgrim, that is.
So is it good then? Wow, okay.
Takes off, to be specific. Which I have to be, since the new Netflix original anime isn't just the gorgeously animated retelling of Scott Pilgrim many fans were expecting, but rather a full-on Evangelion-style rebuild of Scott Pilgrim.
Oh.
A chance for the original creator to re-examine and reinterpret his characters and core themes to
Wow.
bring the story to a more mature, emotionally fulfilling conclusion than he was capable of writing way back then.
And isn't the English cast from the movie doing the voices as well?
One which aims to complement, celebrate, and enhance the original comic and film and pixel art beat 'em up, rather than contradict or replace any of them. But that's not all it is. It's also Scott Pilgrim 2, The New Batch, Twin Pilgrims, a limited event series on Showtime,
Whoa! What?
and a little bit Pilgrims 12. If I wanted to be cute and also accurate, I could also call the series Lucas Lee's Pro Skater, Sex Bob-omb Mongolian Chop Squad,
Okay.
Gideon Graves Gets It Together,
Yo.
and a ton of other incredible things I never knew I needed as either a Scott Pilgrim or anime fan, which the mad geniuses at Science Saru have Voltron together in perfectly animated time with an incredible and eclectic indie punk chiptune soundtrack to
Cool.
form what I can only describe as the Fooly Cooly follow-up we never got.
Yeah, okay.
As for the ones we did get, stay tuned for the worst and most cursed. Of
Oh, no.
course, it would have been awesome to see the story I love so much from the comics properly animated, but I can always reread those comics for that story. They
Yeah, it exists. It's already there.
are very good comics, and now, when I do, my enjoyment of them is only amplified by the new perspectives this version provides on their world and characters. And on top of enhancing my enjoyment of the very good and fun comics and movie and pixel art beat 'em up, now I get to watch Roxy Richter Inception fight Ramona through a paprikascape of action movie references before making out with Kim Pine.
Nice.
I'm
Why
so
not?
happy to be alive right now.
Hell
if these
yeah.
entries were in any particular order, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off would probably be second or third from the top. But even then, it'd only be a hair's breadth ahead of the competition. I can't even say for sure.
Oh, it's so good. It's all the. Oh, this is the best.
The best gamer anime this year, because
this is so good. It's so good. I love this so much.
Shangri-La Frontier is here to expose every VR MMO anime before it, VR or otherwise.
I'm so intrigued to see how the last episode goes. Is it the last episode? We're episode 12, 13. Is it one core? If so, they're gonna fight the boss. They're doing the leveling up, training. I'm so intrigued.
For the hack noob frauds they all are. Well, okay, that's not entirely fair or fair at all, really. Overlord's still great, so's Bofuri, Log Horizon, Ixion Saga DT. Hell, just this season, Netflix dropped Good Night World, and that absolutely rules.
What is
with
that?
Its EVE Online-inspired player politics and psychological horror elements.
Oh.
But that's the thing. All of those anime need something beyond the game itself to hold our interest in their stories.
But that's where this becomes really cool. The story within the game is the intriguing part. Unlocking a side story that no one's discovered yet, and it being interesting and touching upon main story plots and lore plots within
Most gamers have long since come to accept that non-interactive media will just never be able to capture the feeling of fighting a truly great boss in a god-tier game like Sekiro with your own two thumbs. The tension and
it's too hard. I can't do those games. They're too tough.
Is something that you need to play to really feel, or so we thought. Shangri-La Frontier proves we all just gave up on that too soon. There's no death game to distract us here, no effort to artificially inflate the drama by adding flimsy real-world stakes, just the alluring, extremely specific science fiction fantasy of getting good at a theoretical perfect future game. The full-dive-enabled, AI-driven Elden Ring of Warcraft killers, with nothing but your pride as a gamer on the line.
Mate, this training thing was so cool with this boss. And then he's like, I get rid of the thing that casts the spells. Get rid of it! Get rid of it! Yes! And then it's like, oh, this is so good. He's so desperate. He's like, no, I ain't letting you carry that. Hell yeah, it was so sick. So sick.
On paper, series hero Sunraku isn't really all that conceptually different from your typical bog-standard Kirito. Dude with such good reflexes and gaming skills, he effectively becomes the protagonist of what's supposed to be a multiplayer game. But unlike Kirito, he actually has a personality, and also unlike Kirito, he can actually lose at that game without the story instantly ending. And
yeah, and it's so sick. Like, he has to try so hard most of the time.
he does a lot, sometimes when it matters even, and one time over 100 times to the same basic bitch mini-boss with one cheap attack that just happens to hard counter his whole build. Who hasn't been there? So we get a varied, textured, authentic portrayal of the kind of emergent storytelling that well-designed game systems can enable, where success and failure feel like equal possibilities at any moment, dependent on our hero's skill, not his plot armor. And where SAO ruined the illusion of its massively multiplayer setting by treating everyone outside Kirito's friend list, and most people on it, honestly, like NPCs, SLF takes pains to fill its world with vibrant, memorable, self-motivated characters, each playing the game their own way. So no matter what kind of gamer you are,
the opening's so good as well. Be it
a lorehound, a Pokemon collector, or a sexy player-killing Dami Mommy,
hell yeah!
you'll find your playstyle represented by someone in SLF's sprawling, hyper-advanced virtual world. Out of all the gamer anime I've seen, or gamer manga I've read for that matter, since I'm already 9 volumes deep on Bookwalker, nothing else gets it.
There's a manga! There's a manga! Oh.
Quite like Shangri-La Frontier. It's not often
Of course. I'm so behind.
I feel compelled to read ahead in the manga, even after an anime I really like is over, let alone in the middle of it. So, of course, that says a lot for SLF. But Jujutsu Kaisen had that effect on me by, like, episode 5 of season 1, and I haven't hopped off that hype train since. I haven't pulled Yazzie aboard, and even though she's not usually into shonen, she's fallen in so deep a lesser man might feel a little threatened by it. Not me, though.
I do need to get into this
Satoru
one.
Gojo and Suguru Geto are two of the most fascinatingly flawed, believably human, superhuman rivals in any shonen manga not written by Togashi. And they're not even the heroes of the main plot, just the S-tier 10 out of 10 prologue that's covered by the movie and the first 5 episodes of this season. Every single character in this series is simply written that good. The characterization for heroes and villains, major and minor alike, is as nuanced, understated, and grounded in observed humanity as the best slice of life dramas out there. Yet at the same time, every last action scene in this anime whips harder than a pissed off Kurama.
Yo, that music's my vibe. I'm excited now.
And for as much effort as Gege Akutami clearly put into developing these characters and making them empathetic and likable, he's also clearly not afraid to put his babies through the ringer when the story calls for real life or death consequences. Or just when he feels like it, because he's kind of a jerk like that. But those unpredictable jerk-like tendencies are exactly what makes the Shibuya arc, which was current in the manga when I first binged it in 3 days flat, the hardest-hitting, most memorable series of shonen street brawls you'll see anywhere outside York New City.
Right.
So, needless to say, it's been quite exciting for me to finally see all of that animated, doubly so considering how exciting all that animation is. Mappa's outsourcing-heavy production process may be held to work under, but it does mean that each episode director and animator gets to put their own distinct cinematic,
like
often horny
spin.
stamp on the manga's many iconic moments, giving the animation a Gurren Lagann-esque experimental energy that makes each new fight and episode a delightful surprise, even when you've read ahead. Though the aforementioned emotional depth of the dialogue also helps quite a bit with that. This is one of those stories that only gets better on repeat viewings when you know what all the characters are really thinking and plotting and can dive deeper into their psychology, which also makes the fights cooler, and it's just really good. If you're looking for that kind of character depth with less risk of those characters disappearing on you in the middle of you feeling stuff about them, actually, this year gave us quite a few really great laid-back dramas and love stories to sink our teeth into. But out of all the non-JJK shows that Yazzie and I have become obsessed with this year, Insomniacs After School...
Oh yeah, this seemed good. Again, another one I've not watched, but this seemed cool.
Hits different, man. A tale of two teens whose vastly different life circumstances have nonetheless led them to pretty much the same shitty place. Tangled in sweat-soaked sheets at 6 a.m., staring at the ceiling, trying and failing not to count the minutes till the sun comes up again. Scared of becoming burdens on those around them, both the bubbly, outgoing Isaki and nerdy curmudgeon Ganta keep this condition a secret from their classmates, until the inevitable day they run into each other in their school's most primo nap spot, the old observatory.
It seems quite cute.
And
it seems quite cute.
that they're not as alone as they thought.
Aww.
Suddenly, the interminable void between dawn and daybreak is the time they most look forward to, and the observatory becomes their secret oasis from the light of day. Eventually, the school finds out, of course, but that just means they need to start the old astronomy club back up, which fuels a slow-growing passion for nature photography in Ganta, and gives them both a good excuse to wander around after curfew, giving us, in turn, a great excuse to soak in some soothing Inaka after-hours vibes as we get to know them, their friends and family, and the cozy small town they all call home. This is one of those anime where it just feels like you could jump into the screen and start living in its world.
Just actually exist there and it be real.
Moment, and like the characters could do the same with equal ease. Which is pretty much my favorite kind of anime, and amazingly, it's not the only one like that this year. With similarly obsessive attention to detail, Overtake brings the...
Oh, you put it on the top. Wow, okay. I've, again, not watched this again, but this is, oh, what's the world it lives in? No mind.
Medium stakes world of
Red
Formula
line?
4 racing, F1's lesser-known amateur little cousin, to life. Which is honestly a much better setting for a story than F1, biopics like Rush notwithstanding, for the same reason that high school sports are generally a better basis for manga and anime than the pro leagues. It's, you know, a little hard to sell a guy as a compelling underdog when he's only got slightly less millions of dollars behind him than the other more successful guy. But a passionate young racing prodigy held back by clunky old machinery and the need to literally ration the rubber on his tires because they're like 10 grand a set. Now that's drama. That's a story.
That
and
is.
That's exactly what burned-out photojournalist Koya Madoka thinks he's found after a chance encounter with the scrappy father-son mechanic team at Komaki Motors and their struggling underdog racer Haruka Asahina. So he decides to sponsor them, and then later, when he realizes how much the tires cost, find sponsors for them, in hopes that seeing Haruka win will reignite his own long burned-out passion for photography. It's what I thought I'd found in this series too, at least at first. A compelling, thoroughly researched S-tier original sports anime in the vein of Haikyuu, in that the rivals are just as empathetic and likable as the hero, meaning that each victory and defeat feels equally hype and bittersweet, and also in that those rivals are literally just Oikawa and Iwaizumi in Groucho Marx glasses.
いつも応援ありがとう。今日もみんなのために頑張るよ。子猫ちゃん。
Yeah, this isn't in the red line world, is it? Now that I think about it, that's another driving thing that I haven't watched. Again.
It certainly delivers on the hype part of the equation. Aoki, who might
What? Wow.
Key be my favorite anime director, uses dynamic camera work and crunchy
does look cool.
sound
Wow,
design
okay,
to
cool.
put you right in the heart of the racing action, and it just never stops being exciting. But as the characters, racers, and supporters alike reveal more about their lives away from the track, what drives them and what holds them back, if you know your sports anime, you'll soon come to realize this isn't an S-tier series like Haikyuu after all. It's triple S-tier, like ping pong. A story where the sport serves mostly as a catalyst for a rich exploration of obsession, ego, imposter syndrome, survivor's guilt, and other essential aspects of the human condition. A story about what it really means and really takes to bet your entire life on a talent that could fail you at any moment, be it a sport or a creative hobby. If you crave maturity and depth in your anime, you don't want to miss out on Overtake. And you really don't want to miss out on
Oh, I was meant to watch this. It's Netflix, isn't it? Like, this looks so good.
Pluto.
It's like based off of Afro Boy, isn't it? Afro Boy? Afro Boy? Ain't nobody but Afro Boy. It's Astro Boy, which never mind. Afro Boy.
The greatest. If there's any
Make that an anime. Do an anime called Afro Boy.
flaw in his work, work. It's only that he's too good at drawing to realistically adapt. Like Berserk's Kentaro Miura, his art is just so intricate and detailed that animating it is just impractical. Since 1994, Urasawa's had 5 different mangas serialized in bi-weekly or weekly seinen magazines, 4 of which are widely held among the greatest manga of all
Sure, so many people talk about Monster Man, it's unreal.
time. And the 5th one, Asadora, probably will be too once it's finished. Yet, for as widely acclaimed as these manga are, it took over a decade for the first of them, Monster, to get its adaptation. And in the 19 long years since, that 74-episode behemoth of an anime has been the only one. For admittedly good reason. In the overworked, understaffed anime industry of today, the only way to really match that level of consistent quality would be to make your anime a movie. But Urasawa's stories are all very long and complex,
so make them all movies.
So that format just doesn't really work for them. If only there were some way to release, say, 8 films all at once, perhaps via the internet? Enter Netflix with a giant cartoon sack of money.
Get to safety!
No, Adam, what are you doing?
What is going on?
Stay behind me, Udon!
Oh my god, this looks this is awesome! What's going on? What the frig?
Pluto is the 3rd of Urasawa's masterworks, serialized in 2008 between 20th Century Boys and its 21st Century epilogue. And out of all his stories, it might be the most distinctive because it's not entirely his. Instead, it's a ground-up reworking of a classic Astro Boy adventure.
Or Afro Boy.
The greatest robot on Earth that reimagines Osamu Tezuka's iconic world and hero in a more mature and grounded form suited to Urasawa's style, while reframing the central mystery of an OP robot serial killer from the perspective of robot detective Gesicht, a supporting character in the original manga. Also, of course, he made a lot of other smaller changes that make the mystery feel tighter overall, lend greater depth to basically every character, major and minor alike, expand the world.
Lots of references in the character designs with the noses and that as well, like wow.
Building in a fascinating Asimov-esque direction, and low-key turn the whole thing into an incredibly poignant commentary on the dire human consequences of Middle East forever wars.
You see terrorists everywhere, but there aren't any here. You and your peacekeeping bosses dropped a bomb on my sleeping baby!
So, yeah, this is a pretty heavy watch, but also a deeply necessary one for anyone who can stomach it, especially now. Thankfully, it's also a deeply satisfying watch. The kind of anime you really want to savor one episode at a time as you spend the nights between just sort of staring up at the ceiling. There is a strong case to be made here that Pluto is the objectively best anime this year. But as for my personal favorite, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead is everything I look for in an...
Right, I haven't caught up with the anime. I watched the first few episodes. The manga's boss. I won't say anything bad about the anime. I thought the anime was really good. It really did a really good job at displaying certain things you don't get from the manga. But it was the way that the episodes just didn't come out. And I know it's not, it's not their fault. But it put me off. And that's just how it happens. I'll probably binge the rest. Nothing like me being like, I can't believe they did that. It's just what happened and it put me off. I don't think Zom 100 when I think of best anime this year, but then I've never really put a lot of thought into it, so maybe I might.
Anime, really. It's got action, suspense,
yeah, it's great.
comedy,
Story's
big
great.
Floppy titties,
Yay!
zombies, zombie boars, zombie sharks, zombie sharks, tummy. Not to mention gut-punching emotional moments that forcibly rip my tear ducts open every time I watch them, and truly profound philosophical observations that have changed the way I look at
the animation looks so good.
pretty much everything. Also, top-tier fart jokes, which are obviously the most important thing, because for anyone who can make farts funny again, making zombies good again would be a trivial matter. And indeed, Zom 100 does make zombies good again. Very, very good. Did I mention?
That's his favorite. Wow.
And hey, if you don't like animals, they also got all the human zombie types, such as shamblers, walkers, sprinters, and thrillers. Clearly, Zom 100 likes to have fun with the whole zombie thing. So
the manga's amazing. I buy every single volume as it comes out. I read it as the volumes come out, and then I literally just check Waterstones every now and then oh, new volume, awesome. We're on like 11 volumes now. It's really good.
If you were hoping for
so that and Kaiju number 8 are the two that I read as they come out. Yeah, don't know why they're the only two. Well, I buy the One Piece mangas as they come out now. I'm still like not right, as in every time I buy a volume, I'm still like, it's stuff I've read, but I still keep reading it because I've stopped reading it online now. But anyway, this has got nothing to do with the video.
Another boring, gritty, realistic, survivalist prepper power fantasy like every other fucking post-Snyder zombie thing. Look elsewhere, or just, you know, throw a rock and hit one. Or maybe don't, actually. You could probably learn a thing or two from the series' resident ex-prepper, Best Girl Shizuka, who in turn learns from wage slave turned amateur superhero, Best Boy Akira, and his best...
They all learn from each other.
...best bud, Best Boy Kensho, that there's no real point in survivalism if you never make time to
live.
Actually live.
Yeah.
3年分の思いを伝えずに後悔するくらいならでもここでビールを我慢するくらいならゾンビに食われた方がマシだ
Hell yeah!
やりたいことをやらずに生き延びるくらいならゾンビに食われた方がマシだ
Not that these zombies pose a particularly dire threat to any of the main characters. Between Akira's shark suit and the full set of samurai armor worn by buxom German
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Weeaboo, Best Girl Beatrix, even sizable hordes of the things are a very solvable problem. And for the most part, the undead just end up serving as Team Rocket-style wrap-it-up buttons on the story of whatever items being
Very true, actually. Yeah, it's like, how do we finish this story? Just insert zombies. Yeah.
off the bucket list this week. Stories which can get extremely heavy and emotional. Truck Stop of the Dead is probably one of the best explorations
with the old boss and that,
of use I've seen in like any medium, but just as often they're lighthearted educational asides about random topics ranging from fossils to class struggle to Japanese hot springs. There's probably as much Dr. Stone DNA in this show as there is Dawn of the Dead.
I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. Very good. Yeah, you could kind of compare it to Dr. Stone.
It's a sort of walk-in tour of neat factoids about Japan.
It does everywhere it goes. It explains stuff. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm fucking here for it.
I love it. Yeah, when I read the manga, I'm like, that's cool.
I love learning about Japan.
走ることなどありません。貪欲は歴史ある日本の誇るべき文化なのです。ありがとう。
Yeah!
Life is
good.
Study. What?
Okay.
I'm not. You're drawing boobs. Actually, jokes aside,
Hi.
I've been doing some serious story planning in here, like real scene-by-scene plot outlining with I think a fairly realistic monthly word count target, not just idle world building. And Zom 100 directly inspired me to take that leap after letting my dream of writing a novel languish for the last 7 years. This anime is powerful like that. A truly
It's so inspiring.
life
Go grab life by the balls.
changing, life-affirming work of art that uses its undead as an ever-present reminder of just how short and precious all our lives really are.
Yep.
I cannot
Just
recommend
go for it,
enough
guys.
that you give this show a shot. I wish I could just keep on recommending good anime for the rest of the video. There's definitely enough this year to fill it, but I know a lot of you are only here to
Special mentions, maybe special mentions, please special mentions.
see me suffer, and if I want YouTube to keep recommending my stuff, I gotta give the people what they want, so you've heard about the best anime I watched
What's the
this
worst?
year. Now it's time for the absolute worst. Coming in fifth, Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel, Northern War isn't quite the worst anime this year, obviously, because it's in fifth.
Well, this is ranked, but I have
But
not
for me,
heard of
personally,
this.
it was the biggest disappointment by far.
Oh.
If you haven't played or seen my videos on the Trails series of JRPGs,
Oh, so it's a game. Most of these game adaptations just end up being shit.
it's a massive fantasy epic spanning multiple years and a sprawling fantasy continent, with each sub-series taking us to a different country with a very different perspective on Lemuria's whole geopolitical outlook. The depth and complexity of the series' world building is all but unrivaled within its genre. Of course, that can also make the games a little intimidating to get into, but a full TV anime could have been a great jumping on point for new fans, and a perfect excuse for me to evangelize one of my faves some more. What's more, that subtitle, Northern War, promised something very exciting. A brand new side story exploring a corner of Zemuria the games have never reached. North Ambria, the home country of
Something the fans maybe would have wanted, but oh no.
several key characters throughout the series, and the legendarily fierce Northern Jaeger Mercenary Corps, who've come up quite a bit in past games. Meaning, even if the anime failed to grab many new fans, the existing ones would at least have some meaty new lore to chew.
Right.
So what could possibly go wrong?
What's going on there? What is going on there? That looks so weird.
Oh, right. The anime industry. Of course, visuals aren't the be-all and end-all, especially not for fans of a game series that started out looking like this.
Yeah, of course, they're not really going to care, but if you try.
2004. But unfortunately, the story's also kind of like 70% complete garbage. 90% if you don't count the new lore. There are some interesting ideas and plot points sprinkled in, especially toward the end, like a big coup d'etat that complicates the titular war, and the characters do have their moments, even if their backstories are kind of one note and their designs are
weird. That is so weird. What's with the hair?
This guy has literally glowing blue hair streaks.
What's going on?
Then, in many other moments, those characters are suddenly just too fucking stupid to order ice cream right, so they end up wandering around town aimlessly, trying to balance a teetering 15-scoop tower until they randomly wander into a terrorist plot between a clown and his malevolent army of mascots to blow up a fancy rich people party because they somehow nebulously betrayed the people by it's not entirely clear.
Wow, yeah, it does not sound it at all.
Actually,
what the hell? They look like fireworks.
then they wrestle.
Someone help! Like, jump in, what's going on? Could have just shot the guy. That would have been quicker. just saying. Shoot a chandelier and wait for it to fall. She could have just shot the guy in the head. But anyway. What is this?
So, yeah, it's
Wow.
fundamentally not a very good TV
That's
show.
awful.
And I know that's not going to stop a lot of Trail fans out there from watching it for the lore. Sure didn't stop me. I had to. It's canon. But be forewarned,
Oh,
you
shame.
will suffer for the few measly scraps this show throws your way.
God.
That said, if you're in the market for some exposition dumping, boy, do I ever have the anime for you.
Mate, this was so bad. I watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes. This was awful.
To another world for a second time.
Such a waste of time. Like, there was no need. And everyone gets brought in with him. Why? And then the love interest. No.
Is a rare innovator in the isekai space. A bold experiment.
It was such an interesting idea, and they was just like, nope, never mind.
In narrative structure that asks what would happen if all the stuff in an isekai story already happened. So instead of watching it happen, we get to listen to a bunch of people talk about it years after the fact for literally hours. All while following a much less interesting story about one of Protag-kun's old pals doing a conspiracy to start the demon-human war back up because he put on some magic jewelry that turned him crazy and evil.
I'm insane.
Not that that conspiracy actually goes anywhere, because naturally, Protag-kun's already friends with all the leaders of every country in the whole world, except the ones who are hot women. They're all in love with him, of course. So all he's got to do is, like, go around to all their houses and be like, hey, maybe...
Remember me?
Let's not do war? And then they're all like, oh, yeah, okay, no war. And then, hey, no war. Bro, someone call the UN. We gotta tell them about this. Also on the way, he runs into other less geopolitically influential ladies from his past, and
what was the point in bringing everyone else from his world with him? Oh.
Also new ones who are also in love with him, also of course. He's even got a permanent camping spot reserved atop Mount Tsundere. And, in a fun twist, we get to watch Protag-kun easily kick everyone's asses with all the overpowered abilities he got from having beat the game already, which is, you know, just such
so
a
fun. Yay. Oh,
typical generic
so
Protag-kun
great.
easily kick everyone's asses with all the overpowered abilities he got from God turning cheats on. Now, all this might lead you to wonder how such an innovative isekai could end up on a list like this, but frankly, this one might be too groundbreaking for its own good. I fear the world just isn't ready for this level of subversive sophistication in its anime.
Why the lying? Why you lying?
Good question. The answer? To set up this segue. Liar Liar is a 1997 Hollywood comedy starring Jim Carrey
and it's so good.
As Fletcher Reed, a filthy lion lawyer who... Wait, sorry, my mistake. Liar Rail is a 2023 Japanese anime about a futuristic island with highly competitive high schools for gifted students, classrooms of the elite, if you will, which cultivate the next generation of world leaders by making them compete in extremely convoluted, augmented reality games for meaningless star-shaped virtual status symbols instead of, you know, actually learning literally anything. Our hero, Hiroto, is a 1-star nobody who ascends to the rank of 7-star, the top student on the entire island, on his very first day after asking the previous 7-star for directions and then accidentally beating her in a very convoluted staring contest through a series of increasingly stupid misunderstandings. But the thing about that is, he's not actually the 7-star at all. He only won 1 star from the previous champ, which just happened to be a special star with the power to make one lie come true, which he has to use to pretend to be the 7-star so the company that owns the island can save face, because it turns out the ex-champ was the president's granddaughter, except actually she's just a stand-in for the real granddaughter who's been kidnapped, but then actually
this is too much. Too much, I call too much.
Actually, you know what? You can just go check out the spring ones to watch if you want to hear me lay into this show's never-ending string.
I think I heard. Yes, I've been there already.
Hi, future audio-only Jeff here. Obviously, you will not find me tearing into stuff in a once-to-watch video. That's
because, yeah, it would be the hottest trash. Yes, yes.
Summer hottest trash that you can find that. I'm sorry.
Makes
I've
sense.
been working on this for 2 straight weeks, and I'm very tired.
Makes sense, mate. I feel your pain. That's fine. You go to sleep. let past Jeff talk.
Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Wire Rail represents an important milestone in the evolution of the emerging baka and test-like genre, where new writers have started copying the copycats like Kakegurui, and thus drifted so far from the original concept that they just have no fucking idea what the point even is. The games the kids play here aren't even designed in any way to prepare them for the harsh dog-eat-dog real world anymore, not even in stupid ways like Classroom of the Elite. They're just half-baked ideas for AR smartphone games the writer came up with and wanted to do something with in a story, with each arc basically forcing us to learn the rules of a new game in order to understand anything that's going on, only for the hero and possibly villain to reveal how they cheated at the end and rendered all those rules completely irrelevant to the actual conclusion of the story. Then we never see that game again, and it's time for a new exposition dump about the next set of rules that also won't matter in a week or two. Yeah, I honestly don't think this anime could be less satisfying to watch if it tried, though at least it is sometimes stupid enough to get a sarcastic laugh or two out of me, which is more than the rest of these things made me feel. In second place, we find my second biggest disappointment of the year.
What is... the animation looks... the... Fully cool.
Fully Coolly Grunge.
How the great has fallen.
Which came as a serious surprise to me because I genuinely believed that my expectations for the Fooly Cooley sequels were as low as they could physically go. We all saw that trailer. I mean, nobody was expecting great things from the CG animation in this thing. But even then, man, I did not think the parts they weren't showing in the trailer would be this hilarious.
Should have just left Fully Cooley alone, man.
Inept. To be clear, it's not all bad. Some of it's pretty good even. There are a few moments where a talented animator swings for the fences and totally hits with a gorgeous Sakuga shot or two, or some experimental blend of trippy visuals and music that actually hits in a similar way to the original OVA. But even when that happens, chances are good the music's been recycled from that OVA, and any good animation you see will end up being recycled in this one like 2 to 3 times over, thanks to the series' gimmicky triple protagonist story structure. And to be clearer, most of it is bad. Very, very bad. We're talking JRPG cutscene level animation where characters just stand or sit around flapping their lips for what feels like days on end. They also do that thing where they put 2D characters next to the 3D ones because there's literally only 30 total models in this entire 90-minute show, and the clash of styles that results is somehow even more jarring than when X-Arm did this.
God, it's so weird. X-Arm was weird.
That's just embarrassing. The show is also just criminally unfunny. Like, for some reason, they decided that now the head lump things that turn into robots and other stuff can't just be knocked off not Naota's head anymore. Now, Haruka's gotta literally jerk it off first. Because, you know, if there's one thing people always complain about Fooly Cooley, it's that it's too subtle. But as atrocious as all this stuff is, as insulting as it is to the original's legacy as a landmark work of animation, that gimmicky story structure is by far the worst part. Again, I do see the vision. 3 different types of kid coming of age at the same time, viewing the same world-changing event from their own unique angle. The son of a sushi artisan trying to decide for himself if that's really the life for him, the daughter of a sick old swordsmith whose mother passed away years ago, and an alien immigrant struggling with discrimination, his brother's need to do crimes to make ends meet, and the fact that his entire the thing at home species is genetically destined for alcoholism, which this segment's running way too long as it is, so we're not gonna unpack any of that. On paper, not a bad idea, except like everything about the rock aliens. In practice, it gives each of those 3 kids like 20 total minutes to develop their characters in between the story development, plus the 5 or so shared minutes of reused content. I mean, the cool bits where their stories sync up. So each of the heroes ends up being paper thin, and because she's the only recurring supporting character who shows up in all 3 episodes, Haruko, The franchise's iconic, inscrutable force of chaos and source of comedy relief ends up getting more screen time and character development than any of the supposed protagonists. That is so f***ing backwards, and not in the clever, subversive way that you'd hope for from a fooly-cooly follow-up that actually gets it. Because Haruko simply does not work as the main character. It's like trying to make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie with just Jack Sparrow, or
Don't work.
a Friends spin-off with only Joey.
It did not work.
There is no point.
I watched all of it. It did not work. There was 2 seasons. How did I get 2 seasons? I don't know. Why did I watch 2 seasons? I don't know.
To comedy relief if a story has no heavier emotional arcs from which to be relieved. The other fooly-cooly follow-ups may have been unimpressive and unnecessary, but Grunge is just unbearable. Still, for as awful as it and every other anime we've talked about so far are, at least none of them tried to sell me f***ing NFTs.
続いて ブロ
Oh.
ックチェーン技術で発行された
Yeah, this must be real bad.
暗号資産の総称です。これが NFT。
Kizuna Allele is the worst,
Yeah.
most shameless piece of VTuber cross-promotional media crap ever created.
Like, yeah, it had it's one of those, the concept. Should have nailed it. Should have been a behind-the-scenes look at the industry. And how it works, and what it's like to be a VTuber, and how it works with, like, promotionals and companies, like, and all the other, but instead, no. Again, didn't watch this,
And I'm
but
including 30
I've
follower
heard a lot of
V-tweeter
things.
shitposts in that statement. This show fails on literally every level. It
Damn.
looks like shit, the acting's mostly shit, the
Whoa.
plot is non-existent, the storyboarding's confusing and repetitive, it reuses one of the idol songs it's trying to sell so often, you'll be sick of it 2 episodes in. It's got
No.
5 main characters with maybe 3 personality traits between them, and none of them are Kizuna AI. You know, the famous VTuber the anime's named after?
Yeah.
She's barely even f***ing in it.
Which makes no sense whatsoever. It would work as promotion for that character as well.
The premise of the show is that I was this legendary VTuber who disappeared from the spotlight at the height of her fame after winning 5 straight NFTs, inspiring
No
a new
way.
generation of virtual idols to attend Aiden Academy, basically Metaverse Hogwarts, in hopes of winning the prestigiously non-fungible Lapin Door Award, just like their idol. Though our main heroine, Miracle-chan, also hopes to discover what really happened to Ai and prove she never abandoned her fans. The mostly girls go about pursuing these goals mostly by standing or sitting around talking forever, interrupted on occasion by shitty, unpolished motion capture dances to the same handful of songs over and over and over. Also, they briefly play an online VR game at one point, which technically means, on top of being the worst moe/idol anime of the year and possibly all time, this is also the worst VR MMO anime.
Oh no. Wow, look at that action. Oh,
There are
nothing happened.
anime I call truly vile. Kizuna Allele is certainly one of them. It's
Excuse me.
ugly, stupid, excruciatingly boring, and worst of all, cynical beyond measure. There is not a single morsel of joy to be found in this thing, not even the ironic kind. If you're looking for that, well, that's why cursed anime get their own category now. Though, I'm sorry, I did trick you a little. The first entry in that category is just unironically good. Mushoku Tensei 2 could have easily been on my best of year list.
Right, before we get into this, I need to pee and I need another beer. We're talking about one of my faves of this year, where I think he's gonna... Okay, whoa, uno momento, my friends, uno momento. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation 2 was so good, oh my god! Oh, I loved it. And it's only the first half. There's still a second half to go. Mushoku Tensei Season 2. It was so good. Okay. breath. Take a breath. Let's do this.
It would have been, in fact, if I hadn't thought of this ingenious scheme to sneak a top 12th entry onto the cursed list. But that doesn't mean it doesn't belong here. From a mainstream perspective, this anime is as cursed as it gets. You cannot post a single positive thing about jobless reincarnation in public without someone popping in to point out the protagonist is a gross 30-something actual literal
oh God, no!
born in a kid's body. And you know, fair, I can see why someone might get a little hung up on that, but I promise you, this anime is really good.
It is! It's so good!
Not in spite of that uncomfortable stuff, but directly because of it. Unlike so many boilerplate isekai protagonists, Rudeus Greyrat is a fascinatingly flawed, deeply human character, driven not by some noble need to save the world or even a selfish desire to indulge and escape, but a powerful yearning to simply become a version of himself he doesn't have to hate. Well, in the long term, at least. In the short term, over the course of Season 2, his goal is to cure his erectile dysfunction. No, wait, don't leave! No, seriously.
It's part of it.
The
It's
quest
part
for
of
that
it.
cure is actually tied up in a fascinating exploration of his abandonment issues and other problems.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's a really good story.
The whole time he's on it, he's surrounded by equally flawed, equally deep, equally human characters, all struggling with their own insecurities and vices, and all, like Rudy, seeking love and acceptance in spite of themselves, because that's what humans do. Mushoku Tensei is honest and raw and absolutely bursting with life in a way that only the very best literature, fantasy or otherwise, can even hold a candle to. If you're picking up what Frieren's putting down and want more like it, outside of Spice and Wolf and Ascendance of a Bookworm, you will not find anything closer than this. Mushoku Tensei is as worth its deeply uncomfortable price of admission as Made in Abyss. And it carries the same curse as Made in Abyss, where it desperately makes you want to talk about it, but every time you do, you summon at least one K-pop stan. Though that is arguably better than the curse on Kamikatsu, working for God in a godless world.
I don't know what this is.
Every time you try to tell someone that the show's pretty good, actually, they just look at you like you have an anime.
Oh, I tried watching this. I watched the first 2 episodes and dropped this. This was, like, really weird.
A head on a real human body, which, again, pretty understandable because, I mean, just look at
the animation at this point was just like, what are you doing?
This freaking thing. Run!
This was it. This was it.
Here's my coverage of X-Arm. It is entirely possible that you've never seen a more obviously bad, hideous anime in your entire life. And I'm not going to tell you looks are deceiving here. It is bad. Aggressively, hilariously, eye-searingly so.
That's not good.
But that doesn't mean it can't also be good. In fact, Kamikatsu is the very best there is at being terrible on purpose. The show shows you right out of the OP that it can do top-notch Sakuga, and yet it consistently chooses not to. Instead, opting to construct a very strange aesthetic out of stiff, sloppy line art, inexplicable style shifts, random shots of 16-bit sprites, and, of course, jarringly out-of-place CGI all over the place.
Yeah.
Hold on! Where are you going?
Hold it! Hurry! We might still be able to make it in time!
This show legitimately hurts my brain to look at sometimes. I'm sure some of these clips are causing you pain right now. But when you actually sit down to watch the show in context, it all somehow works. At least for me, as a crap connoisseur, it's very refreshing to see animators making mistakes I've laughed at in other shows with the intent of making me
doing
laugh,
that. Wow.
instead of just because they, you know,
suck.
fucked up.
Yeah.
A strange beast is coming! Legends are stories! Counting on you is a bad idea!
That said, if you're not accustomed to bad and or trashy anime, this one does go from 0 to blowjob CPR in less than a minute after
What a way to be welcome to the world, man.
gets isekai by way of his dad's cult's ritual gone wrong, by the way. And by the midway point of the story, he's infiltrating an actual sex cult alongside a literal nymphomaniac.
Maybe I need to check this out again. I need to jump back in, maybe, for reasons. Oh,
the
God.
village pervert, and an ancient primordial god who happens to look like a 12-year-old girl.
That's
so,
weird. That's very weird. Like,
expect
really
a
weird.
non-stop torrent of anime bullshit. But, on the other hand, that village pervert is constantly being subjected to horrible and well-deserved violence, so...
Well, then that's okay.
Maybe that'll be cathartic for the
That's okay, then.
Yeah. Offset the anime bullshit? It's hard to say, honestly. It's hard to say if anyone will like this show until they actually give it a try. All I can say for sure is watching it will make you substantially less susceptible to cult propaganda and recruiting tactics, for reasons I've completely run out of time to explain, so I guess you'll just have to watch it to find out.
Goddamn.
Speaking of anime, where the hero's gets whipped out in the very first episode, it's time to make good on my promise from the fall hottest trash and finally give Yoko Taro's death game anime, Kami Arabi God app, the roasting its fugly CGI ass so righteously deserves, is what I wish I could say, but I've hit a bit of a snag there. See, the reason I didn't do the roast initially last month is I ran out of time to watch enough of the show, and the 3 episodes I did test were so obviously terrible in so many ways, I knew it was an absolute shoo-in for
Do not say that it gets better.
this video. But then, when I finally got around to watching more, I kinda didn't want to stop. And the harder I looked for stuff to roast, the more I realized this show's kinda cooking. For starters, the powers at play here are way more interesting than most death games. At first, it seems like we're on standard Mirai Nikki rules. Everyone kills each other, and the last man standing gets to be God, just with slightly more varied and still basic power sets for the participants, like Big Knife or See Slightly into Future. That is outside of Protag Kun Goro, who has the power to rewrite causality itself at the very hefty cost of ruining his own karma and dooming himself to never get a girlfriend.
No! No! It's fine, mate. It's fine.
Every power set is on that world-shaking level, and the other characters just needed to figure it out. One villain can make the entire world believe any fake news story he comes up with and fabricate evidence for it. Another can take over people's minds by convincing them to open their hearts. It's really clever stuff, not just for setting up cool fights, but for testing and exploring the characters. And those characters are really good. They definitely don't leave the best first impression with how try-hard quirky they come off, but then neither do a lot of great Yoko Taro characters.
How many times have I told you? Don't roll around in a f***ing mud!
Hey.
And while Taro didn't actually
write the
dialogue,
that was weird.
Who took over for him, the Kaku City Actors creator Jin, is no slouch in that department. So everyone really grew on me the more time I spent with them. Over time, even my complaints about the CG started to fade. I mean, part of that was definitely that I just watched FLCL Grunge. An SD Gundam Force would look good next to that. But weird hands and limb proportions aside, the main character models are actually pretty well designed, especially in the faces, and they animate with a lot of personality. Not to mention the show's overall direction is incredibly stylish. Of course, it's only the mains who are modeled that well. The background characters are literally faceless gray blobs, which makes everyone who's actually part of the death game stand out like a destructible rock in DBZ, but the show doesn't really need to keep the god candidate's identity secret to maintain tension. Not when the plot that Jin and Taro have cooked up has way wilder surprises in store. Like when Goro's favorite idol accidentally finds the porn on his PS3, and then the star of that porn pops out of the TV to ask them all for a favor.
God.
ごめん
Now, without question, this anime's got a lot of flaws that need looking past, but if you can, it is a ton of fun and a genuine breath of fresh air in an incredibly stagnant genre. So, as a substitute, I've decided to give this spot to the NieR Automata anime instead.
This was great. Although, first episode was awful. I remember watching the first episode and being like, this is absolute trash. What is this? But then I loved it after that, and I have not played the NieR Automata games. I know nothing about the NieR Automata story. I know that it has like such a world that you have to complete the game like 4 times to get the different alternative routes and endings and stuff like that, and it's that complex. But I really enjoyed season 1 of NieR Automata, and it was a shame that again there was production issues and the episodes didn't come out whenever, blah blah blah. But I was that intrigued that as soon as they came out, I loved it.
Not that the content of that anime is particularly cursed, but boy howdy, the production sure
Okay, here we go, cool.
was. Anyway, I'm sorry if I've disappointed you by being so positive in this section.
I really liked NieR
I
Automata.
promise you, the next 2 entries are gonna make up for it. Some anime curses are a little less obvious and therefore a lot more insidious. This footage, for instance, will seem innocuous to many.
Oh no, this is the mob guy that becomes the dad that there when she's old. No.
Many of you, if not adorable. It may fond memories for some who watched the anime years ago and never looked up anything else about it. But those who know about the manga will react almost certainly with pure revulsion, because they also know about the plot twist right after the anime ends, where it turns out this was a romance all along, and they were the love interests. Obviously, that was a bit of a shock for anyone who was emotionally invested in the whole heartwarming found family thing the anime had going on. But the new fall anime, A Girl and Her Guard Dog...
Yeah, I've not watched this, but this does not seem right.
Figured out the perfect solution
This does not.
to Usagi Drop's biggest problem.
This does not seem right.
You take all that wholesome crap, throw it out the window, and quadruple down on the smut. The series follows Isaku, orphan granddaughter of a Yakuza Don, and Keiya, young Yakuza thug, who's been assigned to protect her by the Don, and promised long ago that he'd become her, quote, mommy, and her daddy, even her big brother, and anything else she wishes. In the present day, against her wishes, he's temporarily added Stalker to that list, using his crime connections to pull a reverse 21 Jump Street and infiltrate her new high school to prevent her from talking to boys. The anime calls his behavior a little overprotective. Personally, I'd call it a little psychotic. But then, of course, he's really hot, or, you know, he would be if the art was less janky, so that psycho behavior is by no means a deal breaker. Low-key, she's a little into it, even. I mean, obviously, this is 50 Shades adjacent girl trash we're talking about here. The only reason she says no to anything to begin with is the target audience thinks it's hotter if he has to convince you a little. But
it's the whole, make him beg. I can't believe I said that.
Of course, that means there's no real conflict driving the story at all, just a flimsy illusion of romantic tension. So, as a substitute, they got to do things like have rival Yakuza thugs show up to kidnap her, sparking off a big, crazy car chase scene.
No, oh my God!
Car chase scene, I mean...
It's so intense! Oh, it's crazy! Oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching right now! Whoa! It's insane! Whoa! I'm sorry, it's too... My God! Oh no!
She gets kidnapped again, literally 4 episodes later, in the middle of the obligatory play arc by
this is too much.
more molesty Yakuza thugs, because that's how many ideas this anime has. It's honestly a little impressive how quickly this show turns a premise as audacious as Yakuza age gap pseudo-incest into bland, formulaic shoujo slop.
He's still got one more anime to talk about after this in The Cursed. And I'm wondering if it's going to be what I've been watching that came out this year. The only thing I think of is possibly Kingdom's Ruin.
And that might be the most cursed thing about it. That feeling of...
Berserker gluttony. Is this number one?
Desensitization. Look at an anime that's twisting itself in knots to be as edgy and offensive as possible and can only think, another one of those, huh? It's the sort of thing that makes you wonder how much all this anime bullshit has really gotten to you. Twisted your mind and warped your perspective.
Oh, okay, so it's not. Okay, right.
On what's normal. But if you ever find yourself in doubt like that...
It's the... No, wait, that was last year, wasn't it?
Consider, have you ever looked at a dog...
Was that last year? I thought the dog isekai thing was last year.
Dog's tail and thought, man, that sure looks like a super suckable. Because if not, my life as Inukai-san's dog is proof positive you got a long way left to fall.
I thought that was last year.
あれもしかしておしっこだ足プルプルさせてかわいい犬飼さん何撮ってるんですか
Inukai-san's dog is built around one very simple question. What if you got turned into a dog somehow and were then adopted by your crush, and then your crush turned out to be a sick zoophile freak, and in a shocking coincidence, so are all her hot friends?
It's so weird. It's
It's not a very good question. There's a story on it that answers itself the second you ask it, really. But then, just going out on a limb here, I doubt this show's target audience cares all that much about the plot. Though, considering the show looks like warmed over dog shit, anyone coming for the plot probably won't leave all that satisfied either. Now, if you're watching on YouTube
clips
rather than Patreon, you may have to take my word for it that there's some very bad art and animation behind all these adorable animals. There's just not a lot of this show that YouTube will let me show you. Not that you'd want to see it anyway, unless maybe you're very drunk with some friends you're very comfortable with, because I won't mince words here. This is the don't watch an anime called Boku of bestiality. If you're curious to know more about the very cursed specifics of its plot, though, Yazzie dropped a little roast of the manga over on her channel a while back that I'd encourage you to check out when we're done here, which is now actually. Oh, thank Haruhi.
Wow.
Finally free. Also, thanks Opera for sponsoring this whole thing, and most importantly, thank you for sticking with me through this lengthy look back at one of the most exciting years in anime history.
It has been great. This year's been really, really good.
Unfortunately, there wasn't time to spotlight all the great or terrible shows this year, but if you want to hear my thoughts on those, that's what the ones to watch and hottest trash are for.
It's
and
true.
if you want to share your thoughts on those, I'd absolutely love to hear what you think are 2023's best, worst, and most cursed anime in the comments below. I'm Jeff Thu, professional too much anime watcher, and I think I'm gonna go play some video games for the next week.
Didn't even leave the music cue until the end. Wow, that was fun. This year's been really good. I can't believe Attack on Titan was on the best, but Jeff does approach things in a slightly different manner, and I appreciate that. It's great. Like, he doesn't do your generic, like, these are the bits. Yeah, it's like a different talk about why and what and different genres and things. So, yeah, that was really cool, and also a bit disturbing. But thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is our support channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below and let me know that I should watch it to go to future videos. So guys, next time.